Appreciate on such short notice that you could join us to hear a little bit about the Horizon Initiative campaign. And since you commented on the sign here on the front, I'd like to point out that the Horizon Initiative campaign is a very small slice of the Horizon Initiative, because the steering committee's got, and Nancy Burns is here, the chairman of the steering committee, has a lot more on their plate than just economic development. So if you want some organizational background, think of this as one of 6 pieces to a pie, would be a good way of looking at it. We're here today basically to give you an update on how the Horizon campaign has done, and we have concluded. Against a goal of $120,000 in private sector commitments, we were able to secure in cash and pledges this morning over $132,000 from 40 contributors. If you're interested in fundraising models, this is a very unique one in that we basically call this in fundraising a flat campaign. We ask a lot of people for funding and support, and most of the gifts came in between $1,000 and $10,000. A little context here. If a member of the Chamber of Commerce pays their annual dues, it's around $209, or a little bit more than that. Ever say $250 might be the top end for most of our small businesses. A $1,000 commitment is 5 times the amount of annual dues. And the Chamber's never done a campaign like this, at least in recent history. I look at Ashley and I say, probably at least not in 7 years that she's been here. So, of the amount that we have in cash and pledges, we have taken in $92,400 cash receipts to the Chamber. Collections, which would amount to about 77% of the total campaign goal. Of the outstanding pledges totaling $2,700 or $27,600, we're anticipating 2 checks to come in that amount, each for $10,000, which should be here any day. It is possible, in my opinion, that we will go beyond the $132,000 in the weeks ahead. Quite possible. What will the funds be used for? When you walked in, you had on your seat an overview of the things that we told the City Council and the County Commission in last year's budget funding cycle what we were going to support. They boiled down to basically 4 elements. The most expensive is doing a targeted industry analysis. Let me just put this in the simplest of terms. The Chamber of Commerce, over tracking of the last 2.5 years, receives the major share of our leads, prospects for industrial recruitment from the state of Tennessee, TECD. I would say that's in excess of 95% of all of our leads. If we do this study, we are going to cultivate our own leads, industries that we call upon, which are unique to our community. And they're unique because they're going to match our resources. They're going to be looking for what we have to offer. Most large communities use this process. So in a smaller, rural community, this may be somewhat unique. The other elements to that have to address workforce development. It was very clear in the visioning process, if we do not address the issues of the barriers to workforce, we are all in a bad spot. Not just in terms of recruitment, but our ability to keep the industry that we have. In the year since the authorization, the Chamber, even though the funding would come later as we went out and asked for support, the Chamber went ahead and started a bare bones economic development program. And that boils down to about, and it's on the page there, $48,000 in administrative support and literature, follow-up information that we provide to prospects as we get them from the state of Tennessee, TBA, and other venues. Actually, I'd say it's been a pretty good year. even though we didn't have the targeted dentistry, we didn't have a workforce development strategy, we have been able to do the following things. We assisted Colinks in their expansion project to add 150 jobs over the course of the first 4 months of this year. We assisted in facilitating the Apex project to Crab Orchard. We assisted Plateau Lanes in bringing, and hold on, it'll be happening real soon, over 2,000 bowlers to our community. We hosted 4 site visits by industrial prospects. Now, going back to prior to this effort, we didn't have site visits. We had no site visits. And not only we had 4 site visits, we've had 2 second site visits. We successfully applied and were granted participation in the first round of the state of Tennessee's property evaluation program. We applied and received the Tennessee Downtowns designation with representatives of the DCI. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and ask the mayors in turn to comment, and I just want to thank them. I drove them along on a lot of visits, at least 40, and they were gracious enough to provide their time to come out and talk to the investors in our campaign. So I'll let them offer their comments and insights.
I didn't know we were speaking today, but anyway, thank you, Brad, and congratulations on meeting the goals for the initiative. I think the key thing that we need to focus on here is the outpouring support of the community businesses and industrial leaders here that is committed to this, that see the problem, see the issues, and want to be a part of this effort to correct and change and get us going back forward in a positive way as far as the business and industry jobs and that sort of thing for the community. So with that, I'm thankful that this has been a success. So thank you for all your efforts.
I agree 100% with what Mayor Terry just said. When I got into this political arena, I heard from all the constituents that we need more jobs and places to shop. And then we started this visioning process where we went all over the county, 19 stops. And we learned from the community what the community really felt that we needed, which entailed a whole lot more than just that. The community development part of it ended up being a lot bigger, more broad than I had anticipated. The problems that the community felt that we had, one being, of course, a major issue, no matter if they were 8th graders or Upland's retirement village, was a drug issue. And out of this, the anti-drug coalition has been formed. With the discussions, basically we just start discussions about issues and things develop. We now have the education community has formed a small coalition, which is the vocational school plus the public schools and Gum State Community College, and they're working together to help develop programs that will work in the end towards workforce development. Workforce development is a major problem in our area too. Anyone who's an employer knows what the problems are of finding employees. We need jobs, but we also need the employees to fill those jobs that are capable of having the ethics, work ethic to come to work on time and to show up every day like you're supposed to and pass a drug test. The thing about this discussion today is overwhelming with the public support of business and private individuals who have donated to this cause, which shows major support in the community from the industries to help develop and make our little community move forward. And I'm totally impressed with the way things have turned out, and can't wait to see how things proceed, and we just move forward. Here again, thank you all for coming.
Again, thanks to you guys for taking time. You put a lot of time into it. a lot of miles in the course of the last 6 months. Economic development is just not jobs. Whenever people think about what is economic development or its purpose, job creation always comes to mind. And of course, that's high on our priority list here at the Chamber. We want to create new jobs. We want new jobs that have great wages, great health benefits. As we attract those to our community, it helps our secondary business industry. They're going to buy more insurance, they're going to buy more cars, they're going to shop at Kroger. So that's important to our community. To grow the economy also means to be aware that we have an obligation to grow the tax base. These companies put a lot of revenues into the community, and their people put a lot of revenues into the community. They buy homes, and they pay property taxes. When you attract a bowling tournament, and they come in on a Friday and stay through Sunday, that's going to put money in the hotel motel tax. They go out and they eat, and they shop, they're going to pay sales tax. So economic growth takes on a bigger look than just jobs, but jobs is certainly a part of it. And the Chamber's more than happy to be measured up against jobs. And we think that the steps we have taken are really quite basic. We had a discussion the other day with a member of the media and myself in this room. What have we done? We have done very basic steps to put us in a position to be competitive. We compete for leads with Cookeville, with Roane County, with Knoxville, Chattanooga. And that's tough competition. Every community has property where an industry can go. The question is, are you ready? Have you addressed your workforce issues? If we are identifying companies that are unique to our setting, we're going to be ahead of the game. Those are our leads, our prospects. And they have a reason to be here anyway. So with that, if there's any specific questions, I'm sure the mayors or I would be happy to field those. No hard questions for the media. When does this happen?
Right. Do you want to touch on, this is in addition to what the Chamber already does?
Oh, sure. Good point. I did mention that the Chamber has an ongoing effort to grow a lot of parts of the economy. Let me tell you what's been really successful. Our retiree recruitment efforts, I would put our program up against any in the state of Tennessee. Ashley does a great job. And it's recognized in the state and probably in the region as one of the best programs out there. Make no mistake, we are blessed with some really great opportunities to attract retirees. That's absolutely true. And she also has another duty, which is tourism recruitment. Now, if you have 10 golf courses, you're doing pretty good. And so you've got a lot to offer. The other thing is, I would say that we've learned something over the past year that I don't think was really apparent when we started, is that when we recruit new industries, we want to take into account who's here. And we want to invite industries to come here that are complementary to what we already have. And there's a reason for doing that, and that is to anchor those industries. As a community, I think that we all got a wake-up call when we learned the news of FICOSA leaving and going that way a few miles. And it sort of jarred us, made us think, what are we doing to advance? We don't want to be in a recovery position. We want to be in a position to move forward. So we're working a plan. There is no other plan out there. This is the plan. Visioning, the input of the citizens, the property evaluation piece, the targeted industry piece, groups coming together under this new umbrella called Horizon, dealing with the issues that one agency, the Chamber, cannot possibly deal with all the issues in Horizon. It's impossible. if we provide a place for discussions to occur, all of us will be better. Just the way it's going to work. So, any other comments, questions? Yes, ma'am.
I was, Paul Bailey was talking to a group that I attended. Of course, he's a fairly big business in Sparta trucking, and he was describing the workforce problems that he has noticed in his business, which are that so many now nationally in the trucking business can't get American truckers. The vast majority now are foreign because the workers in America seem to be, especially of the younger age group, not interested in working hard. And I read a statistic that could be very dated that's here, which is that 47% of our able-bodied citizenry don't work. And I hear that people want their children to stay here. And the problem is that their children can't find a job, and I think maybe that's part of that 47%, is they have family that wants them here, they stay here, and then I hear from all the businesses that they have an insufficient workforce, that they hire them, they can't do the job, they don't show up, they have an attitude problem, they just don't get it. That seems such an intractable problem to me. I can't even envision how we're going to fix it in 10 years.
Well, no one's going to fix it overnight. It's been broken for a while, and it's going to take a while to fix it. A measure of patience is going to have to be I think, the word of the day. However, some programs have actually started out of this initiative, out of Reusenoise, that are going right at those issues. One is that TCAT is working with the public schools. I'm going to look to Nancy here to correct me as I go along here. But the idea is a work ethic program. And to deal with these issues, you've got to go back into early grades, not just wait until you're a senior and say, oh my, what now? But we're going to have an overarching workforce strategy that incorporates efforts at a lot of different levels. It could be mentoring. Now, there's been some very successful mentoring that goes on today in Cumberland County. There's been some successful partnerships. I believe it's the Methodist Church partners with Martin Elementary School. So it takes, this is why I'm so happy about this umbrella approach, is under the collaborative model, groups of common interest can come together to address these issues. Now, what I have seen in other communities is they do events or programs which will make us feel good that we're doing something. But I'm measured by my board in terms of effectiveness and what outcomes do you have. So if you say you're going to create jobs, you better create jobs. That's pretty simple stuff. So the work ethic model, there's a new workforce development council that operates under the chamber, and it's a group of 14, mostly HR top leaders in the community. And they designed, over the course of the last 4 months, a new curriculum for employee supervisor training. Companies hire an employee and like to see them move up, but when they hired them, they were frontline employee, but they need some skills that they never had exposed before. So we fit in and developed the council did, this new curriculum that goes over 4 consecutive weeks. Is that right?
It's 4 sessions, one every 2 weeks.
One every 2 weeks?
Yes.
All morning?
8 to 12.
8 to 12.
It's 4 hours.
Just finished the first session. How
Yes,
many
sir.
people went through that?
25.
25. So we had slots for 25. New curriculum. Didn't exist. When we started this campaign, that didn't exist.
Brad, we presented that ethics program to Stone Memorial. We took a trial run.
Okay.
we took the ethics program from TCAT, and we went to the ACT prep at Stone Memorial High School, and we presented that, and they were kind of like, oh, you mean I have to get out of bed? But we had
Right.
we had really, really, really good feedback, and Cliff Reitman from TCAT presented that, and he just has that voice and way of communicating with younger children, and it went extremely well.
And most of that class was sophomores.
Go back to visioning for just a second, and this was very unique. I've never heard it being done that visioning wasn't just adults. It also included groups of students, kids. It included 8th graders, 10th graders, and 11th graders. And their input was unbelievable. If you really want to get charged up, to go online to the city's website and read what was said. For that matter, read anything on that website, and it's a profile and a picture of what our communities are saying. But you're absolutely right. You said something that's absolutely, I couldn't agree more. We didn't run into a family while we were out there making our visits that said, boy, I can hardly wait for my kids to get out of Cumberland County. They may understand that the opportunities could be elsewhere. But the goal of any family is to stay together. We operate every day on behalf of either the business community or the people that they employ. That's our goal. We are here because we represent people who are struggling every day to get by. We met families that, one family just sticks out in my mind, and I thought to myself, how do they do it? How do they manage a family of 5 on a combined salary of $30,000? How do you do that? How does that happen? I don't get it. So our job every day should be to keep in mind that we are working on behalf of people that are asking, where's the answers to these questions? That's why we exist and why this is so important. So we have an obligation. We have an obligation to the families. We have an obligation to the kids. I know that Ashley has a young child, and the answer someday is going to be, what's my possibilities on the plateau? And I want that to be, hey, you might be able to make it right here. Wouldn't that be great? I want to be with my kids too. So, any other questions or comments? Good idea. He sort of thinks that, but then again, we're obligated.
Brad,
Yes, ma'am.
just one thought. One thing I was really impressed about when I read everything on the city's website, when I first started getting involved in Horizon, was that the officials and the chamber, the city and county officials in the chamber, were involved in scribing the ideas from the community. And that is just so important, that they were really listening to what people in the community wanted to see. And so one of our goals is to get back to the community and share progress, and also continue to get ideas. So if people have ideas, we welcome that.
And we're kicking around the idea of future visioning activities, maybe even real visioning continuing on, doing that some more. That was sort of fun. The other thing we're keep in mind, there's a collaborative agreement out there that binds us together. The city, county, and chamber working together. Now, if you've been around Cumberland County for any length of time, you'd say that didn't always happen. Now, there's another group, and that's the education system, dealing with ethics and supervisor training. So TCAT runs state, and the school district are involved. We meet every week, and we practically talk every day, if not once an hour. Then beyond that, we have to recognize that we serve multiple communities. So we've asked Crab Orchard, City of Crab Orchard in the town of Pleasant Hill to join us. Well, now that's expanded. And now we've got entities like the Joint Economic Community Development Board and the IDB. So what's happening is you see this thing kind of growing out to be inclusive of everyone, but it's a formal commitment that whatever differences that we may have, and we're gonna have policy differences all the time, I understand that. But we are committed to doing this, and that's growing the economy of Cumberland County. So, I'm comfortable doing that. Thank you for your time today. We'll be available to take any questions that you may have individually, and thanks to the media for coming on such short notice. Thank you.